This is your dose of daily market wisdom with master trader Nick Santiago. Starting from humble beginnings, Nick has been beating the markets for over 2 decades. He shares with you his take on the profitable trades that will have you moving towards financial freedom in no time at all. To see an in-depth review of his track record and much more, go to inthemoneystocks.com.
Welcome. This is the Daily Market Wisdom with Master Trader Nick Santiago. I'm Kerry Lutz. Today is May 4th, 2020, and this is show number 26. Well, Nick, hey, looks like things are starting to reopen. 31 states are making plans to reopen or in the stages of doing it. People are going to the beach again. And then in the states where they're trying to act authoritarian and stop people from reclaiming their lives, people are rebelling against it. And I don't know, what's your thoughts on what effect it's going to have on the economy and the reopening, the restarting of the businesses of the country?
Well, right now, when I look at what's going on, I have to think that people are done. They're very tired of the antics here by government. They're very tired of being locked down. They're tired of separation. And the more they learn about this virus, I think the more educated they become, the more they want to get together and say, hey, enough is enough. We're seeing it everywhere. I mean, you could go even look in New York. I saw people uprising this morning on Fox Business at a Costco in New Rochelle. So it's starting. Look what's going on in Michigan. People want to get out. They're done. We're not supposed to be cooped up like this, and that's only going to last so long. And I think the powers that be are starting to notice what's happening. Look at the damage they've done to the economy. I was just talking to my barber who owns several businesses, and he said, this is ridiculous. There's no reason why we're not operating. So, hopefully more of these states are starting to realize this, and, you have to start to open up. That's really the bottom line. We've been talking about that, Kerry, for weeks here.
Yeah. Hey, and in your county, in Florida, there was a lawsuit, and a so-called non-essential business sued. Well, they were arrested or fined or whatever, and they sued the state, and the judge said the state had no right to keep them shut down. Hopefully,
I saw it and I read it. It was
yes.
in Pinellas Park.
Right.
And I'm so happy for that judgment. And again, every business should be deemed essential.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't have this. Well, in World War II, some were deemed essential to the war effort, but all businesses were deemed important for purposes of employment. And, like maybe a restaurant wasn't essential from the standpoint of they're not producing armaments, but they kept the workers fed and kept them happy and functioning. Like you said, we're not meant to be shut away. And the anxiety levels of people have increased way because of being shut in forcibly. One person said, we're basically under house arrest.
And I agree. I actually agree with that statement. You're seeing it now, and I know the virus is a horrible thing. Anybody that's caught it, I have dozens of friends now that have contracted it. Fortunately, they're all okay and have recovered. But the reality of it is, like they said this is crazy. We don't really need to be locked down. And I've spoken to them personally, and they're saying to me, we really need to protect the elderly, protect those with pre-existing conditions, and everybody else go about it and build up some antibodies.
Yeah, and really the idea of wearing masks is highly controversial. The science isn't settled that a mask is going to prevent illness. It might, in fact, actually increase your odds of illness. Everything the CDC has told us has been wrong. There was an article, and I don't want to make this just about the pandemic, but look, it is the overarching economic issue. But there was a report put out by emergency room critical care doctors and what they're using to treat it compared to what the CDC said. And the CDC specifically says no steroids, don't do it. they're using steroids, whether it's prednisone or cortisone, to relieve the swelling in the lungs, to open up the air passages, to enable people to breathe. And the CDC said, no, they're using zinc, they're using vitamin C. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. Let's talk about Warren Buffett. Is this a case of so goes Buffett, so goes the market, Nick?
Well, I don't think so. But Warren Buffett, as you all know, sold out of his airline stake in the 4 largest U.S. airlines this weekend, saying that, he just don't see it happening, that it's going to recover anytime soon. He took a pretty big loss. For him, it'll just be a write-down. But the reality of it is, he's buddies with Bill Gates. And Bill Gates is, I don't know about this guy. He really is disturbing, if you ask me. I watch him in many interviews lately, and every time they talk about the economy sinking, he laughs and smiles. He's a little bit disturbing to watch now at this stage of the game. And I continue to tune in to every interview he does. I mean, all he does is push vaccines. He's got backdoor channels making money on these vaccines, even though it's through his foundation. I mean, there's lots of negative stuff with Bill Gates. And Bill Gates and Warren Buffett are buddies, right? They're going to give their entire fortune away. And then I was watching a disturbing interview with Paul Allen, who is the founder of Microsoft along with Bill Gates. And he wrote a book. He wrote a book talking about how Gates tried to cut him out of his stake back in the early days when Paul Allen was actually suffering from stage 4 cancer. So it's I don't know if I really have any faith or trust in this guy whatsoever. And I don't know if Warren Buffett is being sold by him or they're on the same page and the same agenda, but they're not. Warren Buffett, a crisis like this, he'd be stepping in 10 times over trying to buy U.S. stocks. He'd hold forever. I remember buying Goldman Sachs. He was underwater for 6-7 months. The average person could never be underwater like that. And he just sat there and held because he knows the political game. He knows who's going to be bailed out and not bailed out. And, again, very disturbing to see that as well. I have to think a lot of this is political. Whether you like the president or not, for the sake of the United States, for the sake of the country that gave you everything, I'm just very disappointed in Warren Buffett. I think he should be ashamed of himself.
Hey, well, he'll have to live with it. And he's only got $137 billion in the bank before this sale. He didn't really need to raise more cash. What's he going to do with all that cash? And that's really the question. What's he holding out for? Is he waiting for it to go lower and then he'll buy it back, or what?
I don't know. I doubt he'll get involved in the airline stocks, but I'm looking to buy the airline stocks today. So I'll be buying Southwest a little bit lower than where we are now. But I don't know what Warren Buffett's agenda is. I mean, I know he's at the so-called at the end of his life, unless he's a vampire and he's going to live forever, which you never know. With these guys. These guys have lots of money, lots of resources, but I'm very, very disappointed to hear Warren Buffett. I just think that was not a very patriotic thing to do, considering, all that he did under the Obama administration. And it's just very disheartening.
Yeah, he was a big Obama booster, and haven't heard him say a lot against Trump, but you got to figure in the circles he travels in, he's not a Trump enthusiast for sure. So we already talked about the economy opening up. We got more earnings news coming down the pike.
Yeah, so this is going to be a really, really interesting week for earnings. So last week, as you know, we had the Amazons, the Apples, the Facebooks, the Microsoft, all the so-called trillion-dollar market cap names reported. This week, we're going to get a lot of other companies that are just basically large cap companies. They're worth several billion dollars, but they're going to be more, everybody always looks at those FANG or what we call MAGA names. This week, we're going to get a lot of other big companies reporting, and you're going to really hear what they have to say. Obviously, the numbers and the earnings releases are not going to be very good, but we already expect that. But we're going to be able to really judge by the reaction of the market how things are really looking. It's very hard to just look at, the Microsofts of the world or the Amazons or the Apples of the world and really get a good picture of everything that's happening. As you know, last week we had that big sell-off in Apple and Amazon, especially Amazon after they reported earnings. But like I said last week, those earnings were factored in. Now this week, we're going to get a lot of companies that are in the Apple ecosystem that provide parts for their phones. We're going to get companies like Mohawk Industries, which provides flooring. We're going to get a very, very diverse group of earnings releases coming out in droves. I mean, this week we probably have 200 plus companies a day reporting earnings, and we'll get a better judgment of what the market wants to see or what the market wants to do. But when I look at the charts, I know we've been pulling back since we went into that major retrace level on the S&P 500, and we did that. We hit that level exactly on the 29th of April. So far it's been a sell in May and go away, so to speak. But I think we've still got another May pop in the cards down here. So again, let's see what this pullback looks like. Let's look at these charts. And again, if you're going to get into any kind of a swing trade or position trade, make sure you check those earnings before entering those positions.
Yeah, so sell in May and go away, but not quite yet.
Yeah, I think you're getting that at the early stages. A lot of people don't realize that saying has a nice jingle to it. It's not always true. Sometimes it's worked out perfectly. This time around, though, when I look at the market's really behaving pretty well. I know, we've had a pretty good sell-off in the S&P 500 since the 29th of April. At that point in time, the S&P was trading at around 29.50 at the high, and now we're at 28.19. So we've definitely pulled back. But like I always say on this program, Kerry, you don't want to see anything go up in a straight line. If it does that, it's over. You want to see pullbacks. You want to see backing and filling. You want to see a battle between the bulls and the bears. That's what gives us these chart patterns, and these chart patterns ultimately are the footprints of human nature. And that's what ultimately makes money in the market, when you can identify when stocks are going to make a move to the upside or to the downside. So again, I'm neither bull or bear. I'm just a trader, but my job is to interpret that formation or chart configuration that develops each and every day. Interesting.
So looking ahead, we got gold down a little bit, silver down a little bit. Is this in keeping with the chart?
Yeah, well, gold is actually positive today. Gold's up 9 points right now. Silver's down a little bit. Silver's down 0.5%. But gold is holding up really, really well. In fact, the GDX, which is the gold miners, that's up 40 cents today. So I love everything gold is doing. Gold is telling me it wants to go higher. It's not soaring. It's going up one day, backing off another day. That's what we call building a base, and that's what you have to do. It's just like if you were to build a skyscraper, you have to build one floor before you could start putting, the next floor together to go higher.
Sure.
And you just continue to do that. And I think gold and gold miners are both doing it. I can't wait to get back into gold miners. I hope it can just continue to go sideways, or even come down a bit. That would even be healthier, in my opinion, because we could work off the excesses, and then you get some people trapped on some short side, and then you squeeze them right out.
Yep, gotcha. So interesting. Hey, just one other question as far as Southwest goes. Do you play that on an option, or do you do that on?
I'm going to actually buy the stock today. I have a number already a bit lower, so I'm looking for that. But I'm going to just actually buy it outright because I already own shares in it. So I'm going to take another position and get my average down there. But I may look to buy call options on that as well. So it hasn't gotten to my number, but when it does, I will be entering that.
Interesting. All right. Well, I think that settles it for today. If you want more information, check out Nick's record. Go to inthemoneystocks.com. Twitter handle is also at ITMS. And any questions or comments, email us, kl@kerrylutz.com. And my Twitter feed's at Kerry Lutz. And Nick, we will talk to you tomorrow, and happy trading.
Thank you.
This is your dose of daily market wisdom with master trader Nick Santiago. Starting from humble beginnings, Nick has been beating the markets for over 2 decades. He shares with you his take on the profitable trades that will have you moving towards financial freedom in no time at all. To see an in-depth review of his track record and much more, go to inthemoneystocks.com.